Hello guys, welcome back to this tutorial. In this tutorial, we are going to go ahead and discuss another very interview questions or another very important built-in exception that is called the S-object exception. Now, what is this S-object exception? So, any problem with the S-object records, such as attempting to change a field in an update statement that can only be changed during the insert. So if you're trying to do something like that, it will result into an S-object exception. So you have to have a way to handle that exception. So you have to have a catch block to handle an exception of the type S-object. So what is this S-object exception? So let's go ahead and take an example here. So let me go back to the developer console here. And let's say I'm trying to insert a new account record. So in order to insert a new account record, what kind of field I need? I need one very important field, which is the account name. So if you wanted to get the field name for this particular field, it is name. You have to provide the value for this particular field in order to create the new account record. So if you want to create a new account record, you must provide the value for this account name field. So let's say the account name is TYRE. And if you do not provide the value for this, then what will happen is it will result into an error here. You are going to get this error message because you have to provide the value. And once you have provided the value, then the account record will successfully get created. Now, what we're going to do here is we are going to go ahead and see what an S-object exception is and how you can handle and what can result into an S-object exception. So if you go back to your developer console, now first thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a new account record, and I will call it as ACC is equals to new of account. And what is the required field? Name is the required field. So I'm going to provide the value for that account. So this is the name of my account. The next thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use this insert statement to insert this account record. There is no issue so far, because what we have done is we have successfully provided the account field, and then we are trying to insert our account record. Now, once this insert statement got executed, what will happen is a new account will get created in our Salesforce database. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and fetch the name field from the account record where the ID is equals to whatever the ID of the account we have just created. So we are going to write acc.id. So what we are doing here is we are fetching the name field of the account record which was just created, and then what we are doing here is we are storing that into this variable called account. Now what we're going to do is the next part is we are going to access the description of the account. So let's say v description. So there is a field available called description. So if you go to the account object, in this you will see there is a field called description here. This is the description. So what you are trying to do here is we are going to try to fetch the description here. The problem here is you are not fetching the description field. All you are fetching is the name field. But what you're doing is you're trying to access the description field, and then what you are trying to do here is we are trying to whatever the value is you are going to store in this string variable, and this particular statement will result in exception. And what kind of exception this would be? This is going to result in SObject exception, because what you are trying to do here is you are trying to fetch the description field, but you are not fetching the description field in this query. This particular thing will result in SObject exceptions. Let me just try to system.debug fetched account is, and then what I'm going to do, I will go ahead and display field and then execute. See, you can see here the line number 4 column 1. So what is line number 4 here? So if I go back, line number 4 column 1 has result into exception of the type except object exception. And what does it say? SObject row was retrieved via SOQL without querying the requested field. So basically you are trying to fetch the description, but you are not fetching that into this particular query. That's why it resulted into a SObject exception. Means what is the purpose here? That hey, you are trying to access the description field, but you are not even providing, you are not even fetching the description field. So now if I go ahead and let's say fetch the field first here. Okay, fetch the field first. Now in this case, it should not throw an exception. So if I go ahead and hit the execute, this case is not going to throw an exception because you are fetching the description field. And what you are doing is you are fetching the description field, and that's why you are accessing. But if you are not even fetching it and you are trying to access the field, in this case, it will result into an exception, which is of the type SObject exception, and it tells you exactly what it is. The SObject row, now it will result into an exception. The SObject row was retrieved using this query without querying the requested field. Means you have not querying this field, but you are trying to access that field here. So that's why this exception has occurred. Now how you're going to handle this exception? So I'm going to handle this by just putting the code inside of the try catch block here, right? So I'm going to put this code inside of this try catch block. So whatever the code is, and then what kind of catch block I need? I need of the type SObject exception. This is the catch block I will need. SObject exception. And here I'm going to say system.debug the following exception has occurred. The following exception has occurred. And then I will use the get message method to display this. sc.get message. Yeah. Now I will use this local variable count v here. So let me just get rid of this. So now if I go ahead and hit the execute button, in this case, the exception will be thrown because you are not fetching the description field. All you are fetching is the name field. But it will be handled because we had a catch block to handle the exception. So if I go back here to the debug only, you can see the exception occurred as object row was retrieved via SOQL without querying the requested field. And the fetched account is this. So this is what an SObject exception is and how to handle the exception. So let's meet in next tutorial. Till then, have a good day. Bye.